Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Aaron's Reading Room, and welcome to the third edition of my romance journey. We've got a really great one this time round. Our featured author is Jen Gilroy. I had the honor of speaking to her on an episode of the Categorically Romance podcast. We talked about her Harlequin release, A Montana Reunion. In this edition, I'm going to be reading her newest release. Well, it'll be out March 17th, 2022. This vlog may or may not be out before then, but I'll do my best. And the book is The Sweetheart Locket. This one's brought to us by Orion Publishing, and it's a dual timeline book. So we start out with Maggie, who is 19 years old and is about to leave England to go home to Canada because the Second World War is about to begin, or at least England's part in the war is about to take place. So her family wants her to come home where it's safer in Canada. She decides she doesn't want to, and she realizes she's 19 and she can make her own decisions, and she wants to stay in England and do what she can for the war effort. I should probably mention that I read through chapter 5 because there are 53 chapters and an epilogue in this, so I'm not going to be checking in every chapter. We have another perspective, and it's from Willow, who is Maggie's granddaughter. She's living in San Francisco and is a new empty nester, so she's in her 40s. Her daughter has gone off to college, and for work she's going to be traveling to England. So things get a little interesting when results from DNA testing comes back that her cousin thought would be fun for the whole family to do. So it comes back showing that Willow and her mother, that there's some irregularities between her and her cousin, which they should have fairly similar DNA. It's not as similar as they would expect. And let me tell you, these DNA tests can bear some strange fruit. A good friend of ours, we gifted her a kit for Christmas, and this friend thought that they were the oldest child in their family, but it turns out that they have an older sibling out there that they never knew of. These things can happen in real life. So Willow is very interested, is very curious about what's going on here. And Willow has a locket that was her grandmother's that she wears almost every day. And like the title of the book, The Sweetheart Locket, it's going to obviously play a big role in this. So we went back and forth a bit between the two characters. Maggie, back in the past, is developing a relationship with a woman that she works with as a typist and is invited to stay the weekend with her family. She doesn't quite realize how wealthy this friend's family is. So we're getting a bit of Maggie's shock of how high they are in the aristocratic chain. And that's actually an interesting thing. You know, I've never been to England and I haven't studied it in great detail, but I would have assumed by the Second World War, I guess it's just me being a US citizen, I don't really put much weight in titles and things like that. It's just words to me. Maggie is very surprised to learn that her friend is from a noble family. There's some hints that Maggie might have some feelings for her friend's brother Will. We don't know, we'll have to see, but we do know that Will's mother is planning on picking out his bride for him. There might be some tension there coming along. We also know that Willow is on her way to England for a business trip, and she's now going to be doing some investigating to try and figure out this missing family history. And with both her grandparents being passed at this point, she's going to be starting from scratch, really. So that's where we are going into chapter 6, so I will read a few more chapters and I will check in with you then. Hello, everyone. I've finished chapter 10. So I'll start with Maggie, who's in the past and in 1939 England. The relationship between her and Evie has increased. They're great friends now. We discovered that Evie didn't have the opportunity really to have a lot of friends because her family is very caught up in their title and wanted to make sure that she was around the right people. So we're very glad that Maggie is there to provide friendship to Evie. But an unfortunate thing's happening, and I'm sure this happened to lots of people at the beginning and during the war, is everyone had to go their own separate ways. Everyone was pulled in many different directions to help however they could in the war effort. And that also means that Will and Maggie, who have developed a relationship now, have spent their last evening together. And as much as someone from the present day would have wanted that evening to end, he was an absolute gentleman, but it still didn't feel like enough, and it probably never would have been enough for both of them. So our heart goes out to him. In the present time, Willow went on a walking tour and met a man named Dermont, who was the tour guide. There was some eye games going on there. And even another lady in the tour was kind of giving her the wink, wink, nudge, nudge about the connection that they had. So they're getting to spend some time together, and he's actually helping her research her family history, which is good because she probably wouldn't have been able to do as much as she could on her own, as opposed to what she can do with his help. So a native, and he's a tour guide and kind of knows the history anyway. So she's found her grandmother's house, but really hasn't found much else out, and we're worried, what can she find out? She doesn't have that many clues. We're hoping that she finds what she's looking for, maybe some things she's not looking for. And so I'll go on and read a few more chapters, and I'll check in with you then. Hello, everyone. I finished chapter 15. So in the past, the war is in full swing now, and Will has gone off to where he's going to be stationed in the RAF. Maggie actually has a bit of some cloak and dagger going on now. She can't talk about it. So I can't talk about it either because it's top secret. All I can say is that she works for the Ministry of Agriculture and Fish. Hopefully we learn a little more about that. She also met a new friend in a metro station that I think is going to become relevant to Willow in the present time. But again, this is just me speculating here. Willow and her new friend have done some investigating. She's found some clues that aren't very forthcoming. So she met some people that knew her grandmother and knew her mother as a child, but we're getting teases here and there. We're just gonna have to experience the journey and let it come at us as it comes. Even though some of the cliffhangers were a little difficult there, but that's all right. I know Jen will reveal all in time, so I will go on and read a few more chapters, and I'll check in with you then. Hello, everyone. I've finished chapter 20. Things are getting quite, well, I don't want to say sad, but just wartime. It's hard to find things to be happy about. It's hard to celebrate the small things that you can celebrate. Maggie's side of the story is quite rough right now. Maggie doesn't know where Will is right now. I'll just say that. And it's been rough on her. It's been very rough. It's also been rough on his sister Evie. She got married, but none of her family could be there because her parents didn't approve, and Will is not around at the moment. We hope it's just a momentary thing. Things are going a little better on Willow's side of things. Willow and Dermont. I think things are progressing nicely, but they know their time's limited. He helped her discover some things about her past, some people in her past that she didn't know about, that were kept from her because it was a bit of a tragic story. We do have some happiness there, some potential happiness. I'm just hoping that things don't end when Willow's time in England ends. They're planning to do a little more research, searching some records at the church, and spending some more time going to visit the family home that Will and Evie come from. So we'll maybe have some progress there, and we might get some more of Willow's family coming to visit England as well. So that would be really neat to get all of them there and to enjoy some of that, or experience all of these things that are happening together. So I'll go on and read a few more chapters, and I will check in with you then. Hello, everyone. I finished chapter 37. Hello, everyone. I finished chapter 27. Things are getting rather intense in the past time. So Maggie's timeline, she's really wanting to do absolutely everything she can to help in the war effort, which is so admirable. And it's getting to the point where she's doing things that, the world would never consider letting a woman do before, or the circumstance of a world war where a lot of the men are occupied doing other things and there's only women left to fill in the gaps. So some very intense moments, some scary moments for her, but you really are rooting for her and wanting her to do more and do the best that she can and see what she can accomplish when she puts her all into this and people allow her to put her all into it. So we are really excited to see where things go. But, our heart also goes out to her. She misses Will, but it's been years now. And I'm spoiling too much. So in the present time, we have Willow. She's trying not to get too caught up with her feelings for Dermont, but she can't help it, and he's being really sweet. He's making sure she knows his intentions, but isn't pressuring her too much, but he is consistently telling her that, I really like you. And she's got the complication of her family is going to be coming over soon, so how's that going to tie in with her investigation and everything? Her mother, again, is trying to just be like, oh, well, we've figured it out. You've discovered enough, and we can move past it now, which to Willow, that's not enough, and there's so much emotionally up in the air for her right now with what she's discovering and what she's feeling for this new person and her developing feelings for her mother. So we are about halfway through the book, and I think things are really going to start to tie together now. So I'm going to go on and read a few more chapters, and I will check in with you then. Hello, everyone. I've finished chapter 35. Willow and her mother made some huge progress, and it feels so good. I'm such a sucker for when family bonds can get mended, when tough conversations are finally had, but everyone feels better after they are. I just live for that kind of stuff, and it was such a sweet moment. And now we're happy because they can work together now to help uncover the past. Both of them are ready for it. Both of them are ready to understand everything about the woman they didn't know Maggie was. Now, back in the past, Maggie's doing what she can to stay happy, stay positive about just life in general as the war continues to carry on. It must have felt so long. Having experienced the pandemic and everything like that, it's not the same thing, but just a heavily emotional and kind of traumatic event. It's not the same, but it's probably the closest thing that I can compare it to. Having that trauma just continue year after year after year, it must have felt like forever. So Maggie's doing what she can to just weather that. She's trying to keep distance between her and Mark is trying to keep distance as well because they care a lot for each other, and as much as they want to experience things with one another, they want to protect themselves as well, and they want to protect the other one. So it's a really touching bond that they have, and I know changes are coming here soon, so it's gonna be tough. I'm preparing my heart for it, but I'm gonna go on for a few more chapters, and I will check in with you then. Hello, everyone. I finished chapter 40, and I just have to say some rough things are happening. There were some key discoveries that happened in the present time that were very hard on certain individuals. We're still sorting it out. And then there was an extremely stressful moment that hasn't quite completed in the past time with Maggie and Mark. I'm a bit just at loose ends right now. It's a very tough moment of the book, and I can't really go into more detail without spoiling anything. So I will just leave it there at a quick check-in, and I'll go on and read a few more chapters, and I'll check in with you then. Hello, everyone. I finished The Sweetheart Locket by Jen Gilroy, and I am just in a state right now. I can't share too much. I can't really share anything at all with the last few chapters that I read, but it was a journey, definitely. One of my favorite parts about it was just the pure amount of heart that was in this, that came from every single character that was in this story. And as well, the interweaving of the timelines was just done perfectly. A lot of times in these dual timeline books, you get upset or feel like you're dragged out of the story when you have to switch between the perspectives, but this read so smoothly, and you were able to just keep going chapter after chapter, even with the switch between the characters. And I also loved that it features a probably forgotten or not well remembered piece of World War II that was played by the women of England and of the resistance in France. It's something you really don't see in the typical stories that take place in this time period, at least that I've experienced. So it was great to have a fresh take and to be reminded that history was so much more than we're ever going to be able to understand, but to have the little pieces that we do of the puzzle is something to be treasured. I don't know what more to say other than just to gush about how I feel emotionally drained, but also filled at the same time. It was just a mix of everything, but it left us feeling hopeful, which I was a bit worried about there. So I would just absolutely love to thank Jen Gilroy for sharing this story with me, for sharing it with all of you. I'd like to thank Orion Books for bringing it to the masses so that we can all experience this. I, of course, want to thank all of you for following along on my romance journey, and remember that you're part of the journey as well, and to enjoy your own reading journey. And I hope you stick with me when I say I'll see you in the next video.